First of all, thank you for having me. Considering all those issues that you mentioned, but if I want to say something, that there are two main challenges or issues for Iranian domestic politics is that, first of all, I think the clash between two groups that we can call it two wings of Islamic Republic is something that affecting all other issues, all governing issues in Iran. We know that nowadays we call the two main political forces inside Iran that we know as the, let's say, normally they consider the conservatives and the moderates, or in political term we can call them the hardliner and the softliner. And there are some similarity between these two. For instance, they both have the main concern of the survival of Islamic Republic, a kind of electoral theocracy that in this system they can be part of the political power in Iran. There are some other similarities, like what they think about the separation of state and church. They don't believe in political secularism. And also there are some similarity even in the policy regard, for instance, regional aggression. They both support Assad. They both support the Iranian intervention in the region. But on the other hand, there is some real differences between these two. For instance, and I can say that there are two different models that they have in mind. And so hardliner think of the model of North Korea, but softliner think of the model of China for governing the country. Hardliner thinks that if they go in the direction of North Korea, then they can be sure that the survival of regime will somehow get guaranteed. But on the other hand, softliner thinks that no, it doesn't work, and maybe we should go towards the Chinese model. We should go for a kind of economic growth to normalization of the relation with the West. And in this way, without any serious concern about human rights, democratic, political democracy, and other things, exactly like the model of China. And that's a kind of clash between these two attitudes. And this is a real clash that can affect everything, because, and still, this is a kind of ongoing clash. We don't know that what will be the final winner or final compromise between these two. That's another thing that we can discuss if we have time. But this is the kind of one challenge inside the Iranian politics, the clash between these two. But I want to say that there is another challenge. There is a second issue, which is about that maybe international community and external observers normally see these two groups, and they think that all people of Iranian people somehow support this or that. And I want to mention that beyond this hardliner, softliner, we have another group, another part of people in Iran that I can call it, that's the word that I coined, that they are outliner, which are they're out of these two, hardliner and softliner. And I can claim, based on my empirical analysis on the election results in over past years, a kind of longitudinal analysis I did, that softliner and hardliner in Iran have, each of them have 25% at the maximum, 25% of voters as a kind of supporter. But we have another 50% of society and a bit more that they are not belong to any of these two. They don't support, they don't vote even for them, although sometimes we see that among this 50%, some people vote for softliner because between bad and worse, they think that it's better to support bad. But we have the problem that international community nowadays, they don't see these outliners. And these outliners in turn divided to two main, I think, political forces that I call them change seeker and regime change seeker. Those who think that we should have change, we need to abolish death penalty, we need to improve the women's right, we need to have democratic elections, and there is no main concern that we have this regime or not. They are not against regime change, but it's not their first priority to have regime change. And we have regime change seeker who thinks that we should first think of changing regime, after that we can go for the changes. And that's the problem that international community nowadays, and if you see that the former panel also, that they think that there is just a kind of issue that we should work with softliner, and if there is something that to go to the model of China, why not? Because China is good. China is a good partner for economy. China is a good partner for having relation. But the problem is that many people, many activists, pro-democracy activists, human rights defenders, civil rights activists, they belong to this 50% that I call outliner. They are change seeker, or some part are also regime change seeker. And the problem is that they are ignored. Nowadays, they think that we have just this dichotomy of softliner, hardliner, conservative, and moderate. But I want to say that there is another group that the challenge is that, and we are, many of us are somehow think that we belong to the change seeker, and that's a challenge, because without this, there are a lot of issues with, I think, for the future of Iran. If you can, we can elaborate later.